Hello everybody, welcome back to youtube.com/Bradley Hall Guitar, and I'm very honoured to have the one and only Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thou with me. Hey! Thank you so much for joining me, Ron. What an honour. We were just chatting before this call started, and I've been following Ron for many, many years, and it's just very surreal and very cool to have him on the channel finally. Right, and this is my first time interviewing anyone, so this is probably going to be a little awkward, but luckily it's not live and I can edit out all the terrible bits.
So you can edit out my playing.
Right, so have you been coping during COVID? Because obviously the whole touring world's been tossed upside down. It hasn't really affected me much because I'm just a lame bedroom musician. I sit at my computer all day, not playing live. So, but like as an active touring musician who's always super busy, how has it affected you?
Well, it's been nonstop touring for years, you could almost say decades.
Yeah.
And yeah, decades. And it's been like running on this hamster wheel nonstop, super fast and not getting off it just for years while life passes by and suddenly, the big hand comes and says, nope. And everything's at a standstill. And for the past 12 months, it feels like the first time I've been alive in a very long time. I'm not just this robot machine that's just out and just playing and playing and playing and playing and playing and serving and serving and serving.
Yeah.
And I get to just be. There's so much I missed out on that I didn't even realize.
Do you reckon it's made you reevaluate your priorities, and do you think it'll affect you going forward? Do you think you'll tour less in the future, do you think?
I hope so. I do. Because the amount I was touring, if I toured less, it wouldn't even seem like I was touring less. It would still seem like I was touring all over the place.
Yeah.
But more time to just recharge the batteries and relax and create and be in the studio and teach and all these things that I didn't get to do over the years. I missed all of that. It's like, honestly, creating and being in the studio is my favorite part of being a musician. And not that I hate touring, but it's not, let's just say it's not my favorite out of all of it. Life, you are a tree. You start off, your goals, it's like a tree. Your music is like a tree. It starts off, you have one goal. You're a little kid and some band excites you and you're like, I want to do that. I want to be a rock star. So that's the trunk of the tree. And the tree starts to grow. And then it starts getting all these branches. The songwriting branch, the recording branch, the playing branch, this branch, that branch. And everything that you learn how to do and you get better at, that's like the branch, getting bigger and growing more stuff on it. Soon, this tree is so big and so full that you have to start trimming parts of it and saying, all right, I need to do a little bit less teaching to make up for more touring and that kind of thing. That's how it should be. It should be a flourishing, growing thing that grows in a lot of directions. It shouldn't be too linear. So if all you do is tour and you don't write, you don't record, you don't do all of that stuff, you don't share what you've learned with other people and teach, you're going to sulk. But you're also not seeing everything around you that's right there waiting for you to embrace it and do something with it.
Very well said. Very well said. So going back to your early life then, so I've read that you started gigging and making music at quite an early age, I think like around your early teens, maybe a bit younger.
6, 7 years old.
Wow. So do you feel like music's always something that's sort of come easy to you, or do you think, or is it something that you really had to grind out, or do you feel that you sort of had a natural affinity for it, or a bit of both maybe?
No, it definitely comes easy. The only thing that makes it tough is all the bullshit of, if there's business issues or personal issues, all that surface shit. So you can't let the surface shit get in too deep and start affecting the core.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I say natural affinity for music because you're one of the people like yourself and Guthrie as another example. I was when you watch you guys play, it just sort of feels like you're just sort of pulling music out of thin air. And it's just sort of flowing through you, and it just looks so natural. Whereas you're not sort of stood there rooted on the spot, concentrating super hard on your fretboard and stuff. You can just tell it, it's just coming so easy to you. Is that something you feel is true?
Pretty much, yeah, it's natural. You just have to trust.
Yeah. Okay.
And I find with everything, a lot of it is getting out of your own way.
Yeah.
Try to control the outcome of things. you're just getting in the way. You're not letting things flow. You know, it's something I talk about with singing when I'm giving vocal lessons. You know, people try to hit higher notes, they try to sing, and it's really the opposite. All that stuff, you're just tensing things and tightening things that you don't need to. And if you just relax and just push out the air with the back pressure against your larynx, puffing away, you know, at a speed, and it's just resonating, it all comes out. And it's actually by just letting go and letting things happen. Don't try to make it happen, just let it happen. Let the music happen. It sounds like a lot of bullshit and a lot of cliche stuff. If you think too much, you fuck it up. You just have to like let go and sort of disappear into this other place, and it all just happens.
As an aside, like, do you have perfect pitch or just like very, very good relative pitch?
It's perfect pitch.
Yeah.
In fact, I just did an interview with someone where I turned around and they played a chord on the guitar.
Yeah.
And I was able to tell what gauge of strings it was, and finger was on which string on which fret.
Yeah.
Like Varney used to call me. He would make a three-way phone call. He'd be on the phone with a guitar player, and then he would call me up. This is like in the early 90s. He used to do this. And tell the guys, like, play a chord. And I'd say, okay, this finger's here, this finger's here, this finger's on this string, that finger is that string, it's this chord.
Do you think like having perfect pitch, do you think it's something that has practical applications, or do you think it's just more of like a party trick?
No, it's so practical. I mean, it helps you when you're writing music. You don't need instruments with you. You just hear the music inside you, which we all do. And you can instantly just know what it is and translate it to the guitar. You don't have to search for the notes. You know what they are.
Speaking of your guitar there, because you just held it up, like how heavy is that thing? Because it looks monstrous.
This one's pretty heavy. Yeah.
Yeah. You're not a tall guy, are you? Like you're pretty short.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm pretty short as well. I'm only like 5'6", and like I just feel like that guitar would be like a truck around me.
It's a lot of guitar. Yeah. The original ones they made, body was thicker and more dense. It was neck heavy, and I had to keep a pound weight on the strap right here, and the whole thing 35 pounds. So now they've made them, they've trimmed the edges, they thinned it out, they chambered it, they made it sit better where it's not neck heavy.
Yeah. Do you feel like this guitar is like the culmination of like everything you've ever like wanted in a guitar throughout your years of playing? Pretty
much, yeah. It started off, as just, a guitar, and then adding, the magnetized thimble hole to keep that. I can grab, hit it back, and getting into fretless over the last, 23 years. Yeah. And needing to be able to access both in one song and not just say, okay, this whole song is going to be on fretless or unfretted, and to be able to do all of that.
Speaking of guitars then, it's well known that you've had a collection of interesting guitars that you built when you were younger. And do you still have any of those, like the ones with like your armpit hair in, or like the ones with like coins and stuff? Do you have all those still?
Yes, I have them all. Yeah. I don't play them, but I still have them. It was a good way to just express your artistic side and to also just learn about what makes a guitar work, or in my case, work.
A lot of your early guitars, they had like lots of frets, like beyond like 24, didn't they? So was that sort of like you pre-thimble, sort of wanting to get up the higher range?
Yeah, I was looking for a way to access more of the notes that are on the string, because we're playing on the string, and the fretboard is simply an assistant behind it. Yeah. But we're shortening lengths of string, and we're stuck stopping at the neck unless we're just pinching notes, that kind of thing. But I wanted a way that I can easily access where I don't have to change everything. So I tried a lot of different things, and eventually I came up with the most practical way was keeping a thimble, a metal cap, on my smallest finger that I'm not tapping with or anything, but it's there. So I tap the thimble against the string. So instead of pressing the string against a metal fret to shorten the length of string that much, you press this beyond the fretboard, and you get the notes to continue. Like that. And this thing slides like a little mini fretless neck. So yeah.
Actually, there is one thimble trick that you do that I never figured out how you did it. It's the solo for I Can't Play the Blues near the end. You do like some sort of like dan 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 sort of thing. Like I always wondered how you did that.
So the story of I Can't Play the Blues. When I was a teenager, I used to make these silly songs just for my own amusement, just weird songs, really strange shit. And some of my friends said, you should submit those to those guitar magazines. They have these columns in them. Guitar Player magazine had the Spotlight column that Mike Varney, that owned Shrapnel Records, he would review unknown guitar players, unsigned guitar players, and give their demos reviews. And then there was another magazine that did the same. So I was like, I don't know. Finally, I just did it. And the other magazine, not Guitar Player, can't remember what it was, but the guy calls me up on the phone. I was like, wow, he's calling me. And he says, every couple of years, a guitar player comes along that's doing something different, something unique, something special that just changes the way people look at guitar, the way they play guitar, and just has a just big, effect in the guitar world. You are not one of those guys. You should learn to play the blues. He says this to a teenage kid. Like, yes. So I wrote a song about all of that called I Can't Play the Blues. And the song is, just 12 bar in the E, 145. One, two, three, four. And then I jump into this 5-note per beat, Flight of the Bumblebee kind of chromatic descending. And then 1.5 bend, so it's rubbery. And then I go to this thing where I go, but as I do it, I bend the vibrato bar so it keeps going back to the same pitch. And then I pull up and I do the upper extensions of an A9. So it's like, and then I finish at the top. Actually, it was a B note. Right there. And then I pull off onto, and then I hit a G and bend it 2 steps. But while I hit it, with the meat of my finger, I'm hitting the harmonic of that. And as I get closer to it, space in between the 2 notes gets smaller, and the speed of the clashing wave in between, slows down as a result. And that clashing wave is a 3rd note that we have in between every 2 notes we play. There is that 3rd note that we ignore, but that's the one that we actually feel. So that little voice in between that goes, like that. So it was like, that, hopefully you could hear it through the phone.
Yeah.
That's the speed of the tension in between. So I'm making sure I'm getting both of those when I hit that. Okay. And then I did some kind of tapping thing. What was it? Something like, what is this? Here. And then it went. And then I did this thing where I went, it was we're on the B now. But the second bend, I use this to lengthen the bend. Like that. And then I jump up with this to a high, all the way up, and I just scrape it on it, and I'm holding down different notes here and lifting off. So you have. And then finish the final thing by just pulling off on top. So instead of feeling sorry for myself and pitying myself and punishing myself on behalf of some douchebag, I channeled that energy to poke fun at it all and write a song. And from what I understand, that was the song. This is what I was told, is that that's the song that was heard by Guns N' Roses that made them say, that's the guy we need to get in the band. So it's really funny. Like, if you think about it, everything is inspiration, even the bad shit. And you never know what's going to happen as a result if you follow through on that opportunity to use something as inspiration. You don't know where it's going to take you in life. Be who you are. You know, you were put into this world and you sound a certain way for a reason. It's supposed to be there. There would be a little void that you were supposed to be filling if that didn't happen. You need to be authentic. You need to be genuine. For better or for worse, that's not up to you. You just need to be real and need to be the best you. And when you do that and you put the music out, you don't know what's going to happen from there. Either one person will love it or a million people will love it, and it's not up to you. Mm-hmm. The only thing that's up to you is doing something genuine. And as long as you do that, you'll be able to sleep at night. You'll be okay.
Yeah, I think people can definitely see through you when you're not being true to yourself. People can smell authenticity and like integrity. It's like on my channel, you know, I do all sorts of stupid stuff. I like tape dustpans to my face while I'm sweeping and stuff, and like people just think, oh, I get like some comments saying, oh, you know, you shouldn't try so hard to be funny. Well, I'm just like, is this just me? Unfortunately, this is just the way I was made. I like to tape things to myself and act like a goon. It's just me.
It's not like you're forcing it. It's like you're amusing yourself, and that's what you do. You like to amuse yourself, and you share that with other people.
Exactly. Seeing as we're on Hermit, then, hang up riff. I love it. The hang up. It's such a cool riff. It's not easy to get those harmonics right up on the second fret.
Yes, it's a lot of hybrid picking and a kind of funky thing and putting in a lot of harmonics. So it starts off as an E and it's going. One E and a 2 and 3, 4. And then I'm hitting these harmonics. And I'm finger picking them, going really quick, like that. So, and then all the way up top. So yeah.
Okay, moving on to the 9/11 album. Though this is an absolutely bonkers album. It's crazy. So it feels like a continuation of like Hands, but like way more off the wall and a lot more like varied compositional styles going on. It seems like was this the first album you were using fretless on? Because there's a lot of fretless on this album, isn't there?
Yeah, that's when I first got the fretless.
Yeah.
So the writing changed a bit by having that fretless. You definitely write in a different way than you would without it, for sure. Yeah.
I've got to ask you about the riff to Don Pardo Pimp Wagon. Like how do you come up with riff like that? Like, do you sit down and think, okay, today I'm going to write something completely like bonkers, or is it just such something that comes naturally to you?
It's just a silly feeling I have. I was probably watching some 70s game show. A new car! Music comes to you, and you think in your head. If it stays in your head, you record it, and yeah. So that riff, going back to the riff that you Then you had there's like all that stuff, and yeah. So fun song, yes.
That's what I love about a lot of your stuff. Like it sounds almost random, like some of those passages, but there's definitely like there's a definite tonal center there.
There is like a hub to it all, and it just sort of goes in a couple of different vibes, but every few seconds the vibe might change.
Just a quick question: the Legend of Van Cleef. I really love that song. That's really cool. Was that composed for something else? Because it sort of sounds like it belongs to like a score for like something, and you sort of like turned it into a band song, or was that for the album?
That I just wrote for the album. I think I was watching some Lee Marvin Western movie or something. I got inspired to do some kind of ba-da-bum, 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 bum, bum. So that song was done entirely, the drums were real, the guitar was real, but everything else, all the other instruments were a guitar synth. So I played it all on guitar. Piano, flute, horns, cellos, everything. Xylophone was all played on guitar. And just going through an old Roland guitar synth. Was it up? Yeah, because the xylophone. As a teen, I would write a lot of like classical, like full-blown orchestration stuff. So I think this part was from one of those things that I just had. So I just turned it into guitar music. So interesting little resolve there because it's doing the 5-to-1, you know. But when it hits this, it treats this as a first inversion A to bring it back to the repeater round in D. Probably got it from watching old Peter Sellers movies and listening to the soundtrack to them, which I would just play along all the time with movies and just try and pick up on the soundtrack and keep up with it. Right here. Everything comes from somewhere. Everything, everything that we experience, everything we hear, everything we feel, all these just little bricks in our structure. And every once in a while, one of them shows through in some way, whether it's some Bowie song that you liked. With that tone, cha. So what the hell do I do? Inspired by that, without even realizing it, or, I guess after the fact, a song called Eternity on the Little Brother album. It's doing that same. Everything, if it hits you, it's going to come out in some way. You're going to need to share that feeling you got from it. So a lot of that happens in the songs. Yeah, I consume a lot of music, and it gets right into the DNA. And when I go to write something, little bits of it come out in weird combinations. Like, I'll have a song that sounds a little bit like Manowar, a little bit like Stevie Wonder at the same time. That kind of shit. Because they're just all bricks in that building. That same building that we all are.
So I think it's important to always be listening to music and lots of different types of music because, like you said, you never know when it's gonna come in handy. You might suddenly recall it subconsciously, especially when improvising. I find when I just hear a certain chord progression, sometimes you just think, "Oh, that sounds a bit like this song," and then like a melody from a song with the same chord progression that you've heard like years ago, just like comes out over it, but like without even really thinking.
Yeah, like that, just
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, part
Uh,
of you. That stuff becomes part of you, and then when you go to just be you, all of that is kind of what made you you musically, the things that inspired you.
a lot of the chord progressions you put in your songs, they sound like very, it's like nostalgic or like old timey.
Yeah.
I'll get the feeling like, especially, I was going to move on to the Encore album. I think that sort of stuff definitely shows through in that album.
Very, yeah,
Yeah,
60s lounge music.
yeah.
Just all just super digging deep into the Tom Jones.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was gonna bring it up because there are several. This is something I never understood, right? Because there are several like references to Tom Jones in that album, but you have a song called Delilah that's not the Tom Jones one. What's the deal with that?
You're being a fucking weirdo. Dirty guitars. Okay, and then sing the whole damn thing like Tom Jones. Right?
So about the Encore album, was that you sort of like rebelling against like the shreddiness of the previous albums, or like trying to reinvent yourself, or was it just you mucking about?
You know, I had another album that sounded very hands-ish that I was working on, and then I just wrote T. Jones. I think I was watching a documentary on Frank Sinatra, and I was listening to one of his songs and just really digging the music, started playing along with it, and I just ended up writing. And I always loved just feel-good music, like Tom Jones kind of stuff. So I just made that song, and then I did Delilah, and I was like, damn, I'm kind of, I see what's happening here is like it's becoming a theme. So I just went with it.
Moving on to Normal and Abnormal. So this seems to be like your most popular amongst your fans, and you play a lot of the songs live more so than the earlier stuff. Like, do you feel like they're your strongest albums?
I felt like there was a sort of just a chapter of life that I needed to finish, and Normal was like the start of the rest.
They seem to be like very personal, the lyrics. Like, is it about like you and like your struggles, or is it a bit more like, or is it fictional or exaggerated, or is it quite true?
A little of both, but Normal was pretty autobiographical. Yeah.
So I noticed you played the turnaround solo. I've been trying to play that shit for years, man. Can't do it. The thing I have trouble with is because you have to be like very quick with the taps. Like you can't let them ring out, can you? Or it just sounds like a mess.
This finger hits down, rests across to keep clean, and you go 1, 2, 3, 4. Except it does it 4 times, and on the second and fourth time, it changes from the root to the fourth. So it goes. And then we fill in the spaces. So you have. But you have to do it in such a way that you're almost pulling away as you're touching. So it has a very just. And it goes through for all the different chords. There's a. Then it goes. And then you rest your finger on the 17th fret, and you're going to pick and pluck a harmonic, and then with your third finger, you're going to pluck a pull-off. So you have 1 and 2. And then So with a little bit of dirt so we can hear some of that stuff. So you have and a double, so it chimes a little bit. And then just diminished off the flat 9 of the D. Landing on the start of the repeat round. And this last one, you switch to your neck pickup and you throw on the wah. I'm not going to throw on the wah. And this riff, so that thing right there is. So it's just doing that. It's just over like the D minor.
One more solo that I really love on normal is Pretty Ugly. Do you remember that one? That's a very cool. That's a very cool one. I love it when you hear a solo and you just think like, what the hell was that? Like, you know, you can't visualize what it is you're hearing, and you have to just keep rewinding to try and picture it, but you still can't.
Keep doing that. I'm gonna go there. Okay.
Hell yeah. Do you ever find that a lot, where you go back to learn your own stuff and it like really stumps you? Have you had that in many instances when you go back on tour and you have to learn something new?
Totally. Because most of my shows, I don't plan them out. I just play until I fuck up and then hit record again and keep going. And then to figure out something that just happened and try to emulate that. Yeah, especially with the later stuff like the Sons of Apollo solos. It took a lot of work just to figure out what the hell I did. Fortunately for the last album, I wrote it down after I finished the solo. I was like, I'm not going to make the same mistake. And wrote them down. Shrill. Now with this. And then it gets to the crazy shit. Oh shit. Oh, this one.
I don't envy you having to work that out. Would you say that's up there with like one of the most crazy solos you've ever done? I would say it's certainly up there.
It's one of my favorites, definitely. I like the way it just with the music and it just has the right vibe for the music and everything.
Yeah, it really flows so well. I remember the first time I heard it, it was just like floored. There's definitely like a bit of Holdsworth influence in there. Would you say?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music it called for that.
Yeah.
Definitely. Swells and some outside.
Yeah. So what's next on the agenda then in Bumblefoot Land? New solo album yet, or more Sons of Apollo stuff? What's priority?
Well, collaborating with some bands and doing some mixing work and a little bit teaching and working on my own music slowly, very slowly, but it's getting there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it going to be another instrumental album or a vocal album? What sort of path are you going to go down, do you reckon?
This time I'm thinking do an instrumental album. So out of price, I don't think it's my own stuff. With that crazy riff in it. Practice. I'm sorry, I gotta practice my shit. I don't practice enough.
I really like the lockdown challenge thing that you did with people soloing over it. That's a really cool idea. Nice little promotional tool there.
I figured that maybe people would do it. Right now it's at, I think, 439.
It's a fun progression to solo over. It's a real fun one.
Yeah, I'm glad people enjoyed it and had fun with it. Yeah, I did not expect. I figured that just maybe a couple of people would do it.
Right, thank you so much, Ron. It's been an absolute blast. Thank you for humouring my my very nerdy questions over your back catalogue.
Really good stuff. You got me looking at songs that I haven't looked at in a long time. Yeah.
I can use this as reference material as well for learning and failing horribly.
And me too for trying to learn damn songs.
All right, well, take care. Thank you so much.
You have a great one. Be well, happy, healthy, everything, and I'll talk to you soon.
Adios.